Alright guys, welcome back to episode 2. If you missed episode 1, this is our 300 PRC 24-inch barrel Terminus action. It's going to go in an MDT Hunting 26 with the Razor LH2. In today's episode, we are going to do just that. We're going to build this puppy. I'm not going to show us everything. YouTube are a little finicky with that. YouTube person, I'm not modifying a firearm in this video. We are purely assembling it as per your own rules. So with that being said, let's get this sucker built. Now, on my desk here, you guys will see is a super handy dandy tool that I've got mounted up here. This is the Rock Vise, okay, from Arrow Precision Products. Now, this allows me to basically just clamp my rifle in like that if I do need to work on it, install a muzzle device or whatever the case may be. Also, really handy, once we are in the chassis, I've got the ability to simply flip that around. And on this side, I now have ARCA, so then we have compatibility like that. Very cool piece of kit. I've used it. You would have seen it floating around in the background in the workshop for a while now. Super handy. So with that said, I am going to start things off by getting our chassis onto this beautiful build. Now, I actually got this chassis from one of our Patreons. Pieter Pieterse, okay, is one of the Patreon supporters of the channel. And this used to be his chassis, which he said to me, Pete, I no longer really have a use for this chassis. Do you want to take it off my hands? I said, absolutely, mate. So thanks, bud, appreciate it. Now, action screws, I am gonna pop on, and you guys know we have a rule, 65-inch pounds when we go on the action screws. In fact, here's something I'm gonna do for you guys. If you want sort of my little checklist of how much torque should be on what, I'm gonna link that down below. We sell them as stickers that you can put in your workshop as a constant reminder of, hey, flip, I need to torque this to that, because a lot of times people are unsure what to do. So I've got a downloadable checklist, and we also have stickers available in the store. Thank you very much for your support on that. Let me grab my torque kit and get this sucker set up. Fix it sticks, 65, and we need that bit, boom. Having a solid foundation that you can work on just makes your life so much easier. Now, normally I would do Loctite on something like this, but we're not going to do that today. We are probably going to end up taking this rifle apart quite a few times during this process when we measure the chamber and those kind of things. Now, I am adding this little washer that also comes with that. Usually I would put a little bit of blue sort of thread locker on. We're just going to finger tight this sucker for now. However, I'm not going to do that in today's video because realistically, this rifle is going to go in and out this chassis quite a few times, so I'm not going to take it hunting just yet. If I was to take it hunting, I would absolutely be putting some thread lockers on. Okay, let's not smash into our lights. So all of a sudden, we have our barreled action pretty much in this chassis. So I'm going to grab my 65-inch pounds, get this nice and torqued down. There we go. Styling. Okay, now when I do that, I like to just do a quick little function check, make sure everything runs as it should, visually check that chamber's empty. It's going to be interesting to feel what the recoil will be like on this baby. Okay, cool. Right, let's get the forend on. Now, it's always easier just to pop the forend on while you still have some kind of way to protect your crown, because the last thing you want to do is damage that little crown. Now, interestingly enough, this is still one of the first generation of the Hunting 26 chassis. And the way you can tell that is these screws on the side that hold the forend in, the Gen 2 version, or sort of the, not Gen 2 version is kind of the incorrect term there, but the later versions of this chassis only have one screw over here. Let me grab that off there so I can get to the other side. These little screws here though, if you've ever installed one of these, you want to make sure that you do not put a lot of force, because there's very, very little magnesium where these threads actually go into. Okay, so short ones at the front. Boom. Now, I like to do 10 ounces on these guys because that's the lightest torque wrench I have, and I have never found them to come loose. What I have found is if you're a little strong, you could strip these guys very easily. So When in doubt, torque it out. Okay, happy days. Straight off the bat, the balance and the weight feels pretty good. Now I'm gonna pop it into the Arca side of the vise, grab my rings, and then get this optic on. One of the things that drives me crazy, maybe you guys can relate to that when putting rifles together, is that there doesn't seem to be some kind of standard for what screw goes where. Like you'd think that everything would just be the same, but it's not, and it drives me absolutely insane. Something that I've gotten recently, and we actually started carrying them in our store because they are so useful, is one of these 45-piece sort of torque hex kit, everything you need to work on your rifle. So if you're looking for some cool tools, check out my website, Impact Pro Shop, where we carry all the stuff that I tend to use because, again, as I said, out of necessity, basically, I was like, why can't everything just be in sort of one toolkit for me to use? So that has actually made quite a big difference. Let's get this indexed here, and I'm going to get my eye relief set up. If you haven't seen my video how to get perfect eye relief, I will link it for you guys here so you can check that out. Just sort of my system, and then I'll fast forward until the optic is on the sucker. Absolutely perfect, spot on. Okay, so I'll come back with that anti-reflective device. Again, I run this when I shoot baboons. I might not actually leave it on for the duration of this project. I'll probably only fit it once again, but when I'm doing my setup like this, I'm checking that there's enough interference here where I could still run that without actually touching the handguard. Now, it's also worth noting that this version of the Hunting 26 does not have the folder. Do you need the folder? Most people don't. That's the reality of the situation. I have had them for years since they came out. My original one has I don't have it up here, but my original folder has 0 slop, so it's still very solid. I just never use the folder because we don't really backpack hunt here in South Africa, so I don't have a need to fold mine up. I guess if you're running sort of a suppressor and you want a very compact setup for your rifle bag, then that's an option, but the vast majority of people probably don't need the folder version, so use that when you're making your next purchasing decision whether or not you need a folder. It's a nice to have, but it's certainly not a need to have. So on the money, it's frightening. Having the right tools for the job just makes this so much easier. I mean, when I popped this on to check that the action is level, it was absolutely on the money. Now, I've done a video for you guys, a complete guide with how I like to level my optics, and I've used that to win countless matches, long-range competitions, and successful hunts. So this method really works well for me. It's true, tried, and tested. I shoot hundreds of animals every year, so we shoot a hell of a lot. So we've kind of figured out what works. But again, this is what works for me. If you want to use the same thing, these levels are also available and they're super cheap. So now I've just double checked that. I've made sure that that is level, and I'm gonna reattach my optic now that I've set my correct eye relief. And that means my optic is going to be absolutely perfect, and I'm never going to hunt for the optic when I'm on this rifle. If you've ever put your head on a rifle and you've had to figure out how to place your head, that optic was not set up right for you. Chances are you've found that on a friend's rifle because the rifle is set up for your friend. So if you want to just make your life a lot easier, I highly recommend you check out the video how to set up your optic for perfect eye relief. It's going to make the world of difference to you guys. Okay, that is it. Our rifle is now assembled. The optic is on. Again, we're going to do a quick function check here. Everything looks good. Let me just double check my length of pull. Now, I run about a 34 centimeter length of pull from the trigger to the buttstock over here. So we're going to go from there, whoops, to there. So I actually need a spacer or two. So luckily, the chassis system does come with spacers. So I'm going to add, I think, 3 spacers for myself here at the back. Now, I should probably have done that before I set my eye relief. Naughty Pete, I'm going to add the spacers, double check the eye relief, and then pick up from there. A lot of people have asked us, Pete, how do we get custom rifles like this in South Africa? Now, I've delayed telling you guys how to do that because it is a nightmare. Good news, I just got my dealer's license here in South Africa for Impact Pro Shop, so we are going to be able to help you guys. Below this video, I'm going to leave a link. Let us know, fill out the survey, what are you interested in, and we are going to do our very best to absolutely bring you the best of the best kit here in South Africa. So super, super pumped on that and see what the future holds for that. Wow, this little green is really growing on me. Okay, let me add those spacers. Sometimes it's easier just to go cordless. Okay, let's double check that eye relief. Poof, absolutely perfect still. Obviously this reticle is not focused perfectly, but we'll figure that out later. And once I back out on that magnification, wow, this thing is gonna absolutely boom, Afrikaans word of the day. It's pumping. Right, now that we've done that, I'm gonna clear my workspace and we are gonna measure the chamber and work out what our first loads are gonna be. Alrighty. Now I have looked on Hodgdon's website and they recommend that the max load for the 215 grain, which is obviously 10 grains heavier than these 205 Elite Hunters we're gonna be shooting, they recommend the max load with Retumbo to be somewhere around about the 80.6 grains. So what I'm reckoning, and you kind of get this with experience shooting a little bit, obviously it's worth noting when doing load development to always work your way up to a load. But I kind of reckon that I can get away with going to at least about 81.5. That is the different or the highest sort of one of my loads I'm going to do. I'm going to start things off with 78. Okay, I'm going to load 5 rounds of 78 grains over here. Then I'm going to go, these 5 rounds by the way are just for like warm up and sighting because I obviously just put on the optic. Then I am going to shoot 79, 79.5, 80, 80.5, 81, and 81.5. And my goal is to get these 205s to run about 2,950 feet per second. Now, before we can do that, I need to measure the bullet overall length. Now, it's worth noting that this rifle has actually been shot. So we're not going to go through the whole barrel breaking process. That's not going to be needed here at all. I'm going to use this modified case and I'm going to actually measure the base of the cartridge to the ogive of the bullet, which is obviously bullet dependent. So I'm going to do that, do it a couple of times, get an average measurement. Then we're going to pop some primers in with the CPS, throw some powder, seed our bullets, just make sure that we also load to magazine length, which might be an issue. I actually don't have a magazine at the moment for this chassis system, so I've actually grabbed one from the store, which I'll grab tomorrow, but I will confirm that I'm loading to max mag length. Usually what I like to do, especially when shooting yellow box bullets, these guys tend to like to jump about 20 thou, so that's kind of where my starting point would be. I'm going to check it in one of my long action MDT mags, one of the steel mags, but sometimes the polymer mags, which I plan on using because I want to have this sitting flush here because it's a hunting rifle, the polymer might be a little bit shorter, so we'll see if we can get away with that. Anyway, I'm rambling. I am going to set up this tool and quickly get some measurements from this chamber. Boom. Okay, nou moet hierdie ouetjie met hier ingaan. But dit gaat hier so lekker in. Okay, there we go. So you can see this bullet can move freely here, and we are going to use this little set screw here at the back to basically manipulate this length here. It's a little tighter than I'd like it to be, but it's going to do the job. Okay, make sure we're firmly in our chamber like this. Okay, that is it locked off. Now a little trick, when you lift up your rifle, might not work all the time because this is a little bit tighter. Wiggling this on the way out, you get to recover your bullet just like that. Okay, let's clamp this guy back in the vise. I am loving this rock vise. It is freaking rad. Okay, I'm gonna do that about 5 times, get an average measurement so we know what to do when we get to seating bullets later on. Alrighty, our chamber has been measured and it was very repeatable indeed. I'm going to slap on my lightweight SkyPod. What I did on my SkyPod just for the hunting version, because I find that I really don't always need the spike feet. The Atlas feet work on the SkyPod too. So now we can get this puppy out the way like that. Now muzzle device, we're still going to talk about that towards the end of the video before we get to the shooting. I haven't quite decided, are we going to go suppressor, are we going to go muzzle brake, are we going to go bare muzzle? And the truth of the matter is, I don't yet know exactly what I want to do. But what I do know is I'm going to swap out this vise and get our priming system put in. Now for the SA guys, again, if you want to organize your reloading bench, we sell all of these little systems at my store, Impact Pro Shop. Okay, I'm going to change the orientation a little bit, get set up to prime all these cases, and then we'll throw some powder in them and then start seating some bullets. We're almost there. This is going relatively quickly for you guys. It's not going very quickly for me. This episode has been filmed over like an entire day because I don't have a nanny today for my daughter. So I've been like daddy daycare and daddy make bullets. So yeah. Okay, let's get this changed to something like that. Lovely. Now, the one thing that I don't like about doing a project like this is the way that behind this desk, it just turns into absolute chaos as I grab the one thing and move to the next thing. Usually I'd be a little bit more calculated with my approach. Let's get this tube filled with primers, and the very first one has gotten stuck. There we go. Roll, baby. So when I'm seating primers, I try and seat them flush. I'm not too concerned about crushing primers. So I just try and go pretty much as flush as I can with the back of the case. And I found that that generally is forgiving enough. There's a whole black hole you can go into with primer depth and crushing primers and all of these things. So yeah, if you've got some time to kill with your reloading, or want to try a few different things, there's always primer depth to add to the equation of factors that influence high-performing rifles. Again, my school of thought when it comes to reloading is the least amount of effort for maximum result. And for the guys watching that are new on the channel that are following this series, I do have multiple courses in load development and reloading available now. So the link to that is down below this video. Right, almost done priming. This tool is super fast and one of the ultimate reasons why I decided to pick up this CPS priming tool. And that is our last case primed. I'm going to throw some fairy dust in these. I'll see you guys when we seat our bullets. Alrighty guys, I have thrown powder and everything and I'm seating my last few bullets. Now I'm using inline dies, okay, these are made by Ali Wilson, okay. I pretty much have custom seating dies that I'm using for this project, but your normal micrometer seated die is a really good option if you guys are looking at reading and stuff like that. I prefer these inline dies just because I have so much feel for the amount of neck tension. If something feels a little bit strange or a little bit off, then I'm able to pick that up. Now, I'm going to put that off to the side. The base to ogive measurement that we've settled on, and I'm going to use this 419 bullet comparator kit. was 2.763, and I am on, with a little wiggle and a jiggle, 2.7635. Okay, so we are absolutely on the money, and I have loaded all of our rounds. So we are now ready to go do our initial testing at the range. Now, to summarize again our expectations, if I can get close to 2,950 feet per second or 2,920 under a half MOA at basically 110 yards, because we zero at 100 meters here in South Africa. If we can hit those two objectives, we're absolutely calling it a day. In part 3, we are going to go out to the range, check our initial loads, these guys, decide if we do need to tweak it here or there, head back to the reloading bench, load up a new batch, and head out and take this absolute beast out to 1,000 yards. Again, muzzle device. I'm kind of on the fence. There is one I want to try at the back here. I just feel like it is going to add so freaking much length to this thing and make it pretty impractical. So I don't know. I'll feel what she feels like. I'm very realistically going to do the initial load development with no muzzle device, just shoot it bare bones like that. And then usually what I found is when I do the load development like that, it's kind of less sensitive to changing muzzle devices then. Also, another really cool thing that I saw on my trip at 419 to the US are these sort of magnetized little lamps that you can use throughout your reloading bench. If you want to check that there's powder in all of your cases, super cool. I'll link this for you guys below the video to Amazon. Guys, anyway, that's a wrap. I really hope you enjoyed this one. Please leave us a like, a comment, and let me know what you think about this baby so far. Hopefully I would have taken some nice pictures for the thumbnail already. Super pumped on this project, and I can't wait to shoot her. I look forward to sharing that with you in the next one. Bye.